Hello everybody, this is Waldorf,
And this is Statler.
and today we're going to be talking about the Kingdom of Equitaine for the 9th Age version 1.2.
1.2. The
There we
version
go.
that just came out on October 25th,
Yep,
2016.
2016. This is the Kingdom of Equitaine, an army we both know and love.
Yes. So this review is the army's not that different from the last review we did on it. The big change to the army is really the same changes that all the armies has, and that is that with version 1.2 we have a new way of organizing the armies instead of having the old
Or special rare.
1990s version of Cold
Yes.
Special Rare and characters. We now have core special characters in one, I don't know, maybe somebody has none, but one or more other categories to help armies have a unique feel to them. So things have been moved around and to fit into these new characteristics. And it's going to really have a big effect on how the army is built.
Okay.
So starting at the top,
Oh, back up the top.
yeah, the top word.
There we go. Kingdom of
Not
Equitaine.
quite that far top. The special rules. You can do it. You can do it.
There we go.
Special
Army
rules.
special rules.
So first is the blessing.
Is this changed?
It really hasn't changed, but they've kind of written it in a different way. So basically, you have three. Scroll down slightly so you can see all the titles. You have three ways of playing it. You always get, which is the very top. You always get a 6-up ward save, no matter what. And then you have the option of getting now they're called, instead of token, they're favor. So they actually change the name on it. It's not green. So you have the favor of the king, which means you get a 5-up ward save against attacks that are strength 5 or greater.
Okay, so the old one.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the favor of the Grail, which is you get a 5-up ward save against attacks that have the armor-piercing special rule. And last but not least, you have the no option. And why you might want to take this is if you're going to win the deployment game, and
If you want to play in the deployment phase.
exactly. Otherwise, if you take the other two, it's a 50-50 if you're going to get a chance to.
If the other guy lets you
Yeah,
finish.
if the guy lets you finish to go
Correct.
first. So now that change here, it's still, you kind of have to think about how you want to build your army. If you're playing against individual opponents, this works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more difficult in the tournament because
Yeah, we've got to pick one for the entire
you got
tournament.
to pick one for the other tournament. They haven't changed that, unfortunately. I was really hoping they would.
Yeah, that does need to change, I think.
Yeah, or do something else with the army. Because a 2-up, a 6-up is, it sounds good, but for such a small model count type of army with cavalry, it's not. Especially now that infantry is even cheaper than cavalry comparatively. Lance formation is basically you get monstrous ranks and you fight in an extra rank.
Right.
You gain an additional extra rank if you're charging. So same as the previous version. Jousting rule just allows you to switch out your lance after with a mundane
After
weapon.
the charge, first,
Yeah.
it's kind of a
Right.
limited
Right, and
weapon master.
you can take your lance on the first round of combat even if you have a magical weapon.
Right.
So serfs rule, basically any of the the serf type units, they get a +1 movement when marching. When they get inspiring presence of
Right.
anything with Oath of Fealty, which is basically most of the knight units and most of the characters.
Have that.
Yeah.
And they're just specifying now it's more than half.
Yes.
Yeah, not a big deal.
And they do that in through a lot of the books. They've done that with a lot of them. So Oath of Fealty, basically, it's a thing. If you have it, you have a 6-inch inspiring presence range to all serf units. So same as before. Questing Oath, same as before. This is for questing knights. They ignore the effects of fear, and they can, when they use a great weapon, they can use a shield at the same time, so they can maintain their armor save. They were never taken before because they were just too squishy in comparison to what you're paying. Still not taking a lot because of the initiative 0, but we'll get to that. Characters have that, plus they get the multiple wounds 2 against towering presence, which are basically monsters. Grail Oath is the same as before. You get a ward save of 5, and the characters get a +1 weapon skill when they take it.
Okay.
So not really any changes there. Virtues, not a lot of changes. Oh, there's something here I didn't notice. I don't know what that is. Clipped wings. It's like a new special rule.
I think this is replacing the ordnance,
Oh, okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. We'll have to check. So, same as before, lethal strike. You roll on a 6 in close combat, and you gain multiple wounds, D3 +1. So, if it's the same as the ordnance, then you get an extra one for
Basically D3 +2.
yeah, for flying. 110. I think it's reminding people before they get a heart attack. All points in version 1.2 are basically double what they were
Right.
in before.
Yeah,
And that's to help them to do other things with the game. So think of it, if you're comparing it, look at half whatever's here, and that's comparison to the
It's
old
what it used to be.
version. Yeah. So really, renowns, it's about the same. The big difference is all of these virtues, they're no longer cheaper for paladins.
Right.
So,
Same price.
Right. So it's the same price. So it makes your paladin builds more expensive because of the virtues, if you're going to take virtues. Whereas the dukes in general, the virtue costs haven't really changed too much. There's 5 points here and there, or 10 points. It's not too much on one or two of them. Audacity, I think this one, it's actually the points did go up on, if I remember correctly. If you're fighting something with toughness or strength 5, excluding weapons bonuses, then the character is stubborn and he can reroll all fail to hit and 2 wounds. This is like it's actually my favorite of the virtues. A lot of people are big on renown, but I would like this one.
Might's the other really big one.
I'm sorry?
Might's the other one
Might
that I
is
see.
Might is very good. Also, it's my second favorite. When charging when using a lance in close combat, every unsaved wounds caused by the bearer with normal attacks before multiplying wounds generates another attack in initiative step. So basically, you're getting extra attacks, and then those extra attacks don't generate any more, but you also get devastating charge to get an extra attack and thunderous charge, so an extra strength.
Right.
And you put that with something that a lance that causes multiple wounds, which we're going to see in a minute, and it becomes quite scary for big monstrous type of things. Valor, if you're in a challenge, I think this is just straight up points, just the hero costs more. If you're in a challenge, you have to accept challenges wherever possible. When you're in a challenge, you get to reroll fail to hit and fail to wounds. A lot of people like this a lot.
Yeah,
I think.
I used to love this.
Yeah,
I used to use this a lot.
Yeah, and as long as you're not playing against a particularly scary character, it's damn good.
Right.
It can mess you up though if all you got is a champion in front of you. So I'll have to scroll up for a second, please.
Oops. What do you want to see?
Yeah, they're just double checking. Yeah. Piety, the bear in all rank and file models gains a +1 to the war save to a maximum of 5, and you can only the bear can only join cavalry or infantry units. So this would not apply to Pegasus Knights, for example. I think it's a very nice one, especially when you put it on things like Grail Knights who get a 5 up all the time.
Right. Well, no, it's maximum 5.
Then it doesn't help them at all.
You're thinking about the magic item.
Yes, I'm thinking the magic item. Yeah, sorry. That's the shooting one.
Yeah.
I'm ahead. Yes, this is you put it on regular guys, and you're guaranteed you're going to get your 5 instead of
correct.
Not knowing which token that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Or build an army with this and plan on not taking a token.
Yes.
Is the other option.
Yeah, but it'd be one unit. Probably really helpful for particularly helpful for questing knights because anything to keep them alive a little bit longer to help with their great weapon attacks. Daring, the bear's unit gains D3 +3 inch modifier when rolling for charge range.
Okay.
So it's helpful. It's just you only have
D3,
so many.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great to help, and charge is so important to this army. And then lastly is humility, which basically makes you so you can be insignificant.
Okay.
And you gain inspiring presence 12 inches and hold your ground for all insignificant units. We like the surf units.
Right.
So.
Okay. And this one, it does allow you to duplicate.
Yes.
As opposed to the others, which are all.
So if you want to play like a peasant army with lots of troops, that's what you do with it. So you have leadership bubbles coming from everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And then magical weapons, we have the Mace of Tristan, which is 100 points. This is count as having strength equal to the toughness. Basically, you get your strength 1 better than their toughness, so you're always wounding on a 3. At worst. At the worst. You ignore it if you're at a higher strength already. 1 or more wounds. You roll a d6 at the end of the initiative step for every hit, not wound, every hit.
Correct.
And a 4-up, you destroy all magic weapons carried by the attacked model.
Right.
Which is kind of a nifty thing, but you've got to survive.
Yeah, it is. It's a little more expensive than I believe. If memory serves, it was 35 points. I think so it'd be 70. It's really about the first thing. I didn't think they'd keep this ability to knock
break
things.
Weapons.
Yeah, to break weapons.
Well, it doesn't break them. It just says that it's reverted to mundane type this time. I think it used to say they were broken.
Yes, yes.
Here it is, the Dragon Lance for 90, where you gain the breath weapon, which is the minor ability. The big ability of this one is attacks with this weapon have multiple wounds D3 in the round of combat directly after you charge.
Yes.
So this is really nice, especially combined with those other virtue we saw up above.
Yes, absolutely.
Virtual Might.
It's a very nice weapon.
Crusader's Helm. There's been
not cheap, but you get a lot for it.
No change in the Crusader's Helm at all.
No.
+1 to your armor and reroll.
Yes.
And you're immune to lethal strike, which is actually pretty good.
It's very good with all those spears out there.
Yeah. The Armor of Percival. This one gives you +1 to your ward save, a maximum of 4 for 1 character, and you're immune to divine attacks, basically.
Right.
It's another nice benefit because your ward saves, you're depending on that.
Yes, yes.
Talisman of Roland. No unit stand and shoot versus you, which is good. And this is the better part of it.
Yes.
Unit gains +1 to its ward save against ranged attacks to a maximum of 4+.
Right. So it's actually
it doesn't work against magic, so it doesn't work against.
It's just against shooting, basically war machines, but it's nice. Plus, you can put on a mage and just stick them in your unit and not give up any points for your characters.
Yeah, and I guess this doesn't work against that skull splitter weapon and stuff like that. It's a magical attack.
Yeah.
Blessed Scripture, 50 points. Multiple wounds suffered by the bearer halved, rounded up. That's nice for your guy on the hippogriff.
That's what it's built for.
Storm Clarion for 80 points. Again, no change at all. Enemy units can make flying movements during the player turn. A little overpriced for a one-use item that may or may not.
There are people that like this. I've never particularly liked it. It's not my thing. Considering some of the other options.
Yeah, the Wafers of Penitence. Generate D3 +1 wafers and add +1 modifier to the Dispel roll. I don't know. You're using an arcane slot for this.
The problem is,
don't see it happening.
If it was enchanted, you'd probably see it. But as an arcane item, it's crap because you don't have enough of them, and there's other things you're going to take that you need to take before you take this.
Before that,
I really hope that at some point they change the arcane limits, or move things out of arcane.
Correct. Magical standards, the Oriflamme. No change again. You gain fear, and they cannot benefit from hold your ground.
But it's indirectly better because you're going to see, I think, lower leadership armies, so that additional -1 is going to increase your probability of
standard discipline being gone. Makes this better.
Breaking units on the charge, which is, something a lot of Equitaine players would like. So, indirectly, I think we got that ability.
It's a buff for the unit, for the army, this item.
Correct.
An indirect one, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think indirectly it's a buff just because if Steadfast is going to be, quite often 1 point down, that's just a higher probability of breaking things on the charge. Add this, and you might be taking it to 38%.
Then we have the Banner of the Last Charge, where all mounts gain impact hits 1.
Another very nice banner.
This can be a monster killer early, right?
It could be. I think you're probably
because your horses are strength 4?
Strength 4. The strength 3. They get Thunderous Charge, so they're strength 4.
So the Thunderous Charge doesn't apply to impact.
Yeah.
So they're strength 3 +1 for each rank. So they go up to strength 5, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it
Okay.
depends how big you. If you're putting,
Well,
if you're
it's got a
doing that,
9.
you're probably going to have 4 or 5 deep.
Right.
But it's only 3 then,
Correct.
right? I think you're more likely to see it on the Knight's Aspirant, which get a lot of attacks, so you're going to have just more Strength 4 attacks on the charge.
3.
Yeah, Strength 3 attack. Well, Strength 4, because I'm assuming that
Assuming
if you're
2
building a
ranks.
Rithis, you're going to have 2 ranks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not too expensive, so for that ability, it's very nice.
Okay.
Which brings us to the army organization. So this is where we see it's different. So first we have characters. So they're 35% of the total. This is a big change, and I think it's going to take a lot of people a while to get used to this new meta again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because since the end times, everything was 50%.
Right.
Or even, right? So now you're down to 35.
Well, and this army
for
in
this army-
particular kind of depends
And this
on its
army
characters.
was so dependent on its characters.
Yeah, this is kind of a harsh
So I think it is a bit of a blow to the army. Forget about the other stuff. Some of the minor increments in cost. I think this is the one that's going to affect the composition of the army more.
Yeah, especially with a lot of those virtues going up a few points.
Well, the virtues aren't going to be the problem, as we'll see. The mounts are going to be the issue. But even that's not so bad. I think this 35 is where it's
yeah,
it's
that's what I'm saying.
challenging.
Though all those points,
But
mounts, virtues,
yeah.
all go into this character
exactly.
slot.
So it makes it even more. So you're probably going to see maybe half the characters that you
that's
did
pretty
before.
brutal.
Yeah, that's pretty rough for an army that used them. Now, with that said, with a lot of the magic that attacks Death Stars, well, Equitaine didn't tend to have Death Stars. They tend to have lots of characters. You could have lots of characters. You'd be more vulnerable too. So you got to kind of think about your builds.
Right.
Core is 30%. It's a little on the high side, somewhat surprising. But I guess they view the Knights having elite because they are elite.
Yeah, they're
humans
kind of elite.
for stats. You mean a high weapon skill, high strength. So, and it's supposed to be a knight-based army. So,
Okay.
or a peasant-based army. So you do that. So, again, big thing here, special. So this is basically almost all the rares special together. There is no limit. So
Correct.
depending on how you want to do your builds, you can really, do a lot.
And
in
that's
this
across
space.
the board. All armies
Yes,
are
exactly. But it's a question of what they've put. The difference here is, and we'll see, is the Airborne Gallantry only includes the Pegasus Knights. So basically, almost all of the old special rares are now in the special category. So you can do some different things. Sometimes you could run out of special slots if you didn't go character heavy. You're not going to have that problem so much now, unless you go with the Air Force, which is 40%.
Right.
Looks like a lot, but that also includes the point for mounted characters on Pegasus and the count of the hippogriff mounts.
guy.
Not the character, but the hippogriff
Okay, the
mounts.
mount.
So you can actually use those up pretty quick. You're not going to have a lot of Pegasus.
Okay. Again, the army list, no option. This must be noted in the army list which option you choose for the
Right.
blessing, which favor
Yeah.
of any.
So we'll see in 1.3 if that changes. Hopefully it will.
So characters, the Duke and Paladin have been combined into a single entry called Nobility, and there's no max on the number of these guys you can take.
Correct.
It's all built on this 35% max in the army.
Which in theory is a big deal because before with the 3/3 you could run up against those curves depending on how you build them.
And as you can see, the Paladin now has basically the old Paladin stats. The only thing different is he's been bumped up a wound.
Wounds. He's basically the same as an Empire Marshal, which is their general. So yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
You can see it comes with heavy armor, all these special rules, and then must become one of the following: a Duke for
Right.
150, Paladin for 110. You're like, when you look at this, you're like, oh, it's a 40% difference. You're going to jump on the Duke every time. Well,
Absolutely. But things
based
change
on
when
this
you
price-
go down south. Yes.
yes,
So what they seem to have done is they've tried to look at the upgrades in contention of what they're upgrading, at least at the mundane level.
Mhm.
They don't do it with the magic items, but at the mundane
Right.
level, and point things appropriately.
yeah. And as you can see down through here, I mean, it's 50 questing up virtues, 50 for the Duke, 30 for the Paladin. You can see the magic points items. It's
Right.
kind of the same what it used to be.
It's the same. Remember, it's doubled, so 50 becomes 100, 100 becomes
100
200.
gets 200. So all these numbers, just take that into consideration. They're
Yeah.
doubled.
The Grail is still limited to one model in the army.
Correct, for one character, right?
Correct.
And scrolling through, none of this really stands out as much. It's just little points here, points there. 30 points for a lance is a chunk, but
yeah, it's all 15
remember-
points though, so it's not so bad.
remember this applies. Some of the virtues work into this one as
Right.
well. But here's
Yeah.
where we get a little. It's 110 points for a horse.
Right.
110 points.
Yeah.
Are you? Is everyone seeing this? 110 points for a horse.
Yes.
We're not talking about a flying horse.
No.
We're not talking about a unicorn.
No.
This is a horse.
Yes. Yes. And yes, he's getting speed, which I think the Ninth Age folks thinks. I mean, they balance that,
Oof.
put a lot of factors. That's why cavalry costs so much. But yeah, that seems it's the expensive horse I've found so far. I haven't studied all the lists, but yeah.
There's other armies you can get monsters for this.
There's other
Not
armies you can get
monsters.
3 or 4 monsters for that. Yeah. And then you see the Paladin at 70 points. So yeah.
Right.
So the difference in cost is not the base cost of the models. They don't matter that much. It's when you start giving them stuff that they start spreading out.
Yeah, that's rough. Anyway, so Pegasus, you can get a flying horse for 40 points more, which in the old rules is 20 points. Old points is basically 20 points more.
Yes, yes.
You can fly instead of walking horse. Anyway,
And
and here's where it's telling you where the points go.
right.
A character mounted on a Pegasus counts towards Airborne Gallantry. Hippogriff counts towards the Airborne Gallantry, while its rider doesn't.
Right.
A character mounted on a Pegasus additionally counts, yeah.
Yes.
So the character mount on Pegasus counts as both.
Correct.
Hippogriff only the mount counts.
Again, the Hippogriff counts as both, but the rider only counts as characters.
Counts towards Hippogriff. No.
Oh, no.
Hippogriff does not
only
count
counts.
against your characters.
Okay.
That
yeah.
helps a little bit.
Yeah, it makes you want to even more take the Hippogriff.
Yeah, because it doesn't count against your character points.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving on. What do we got?
So we got the damsel. So now this is common with almost all of the books. The magic users, they're no longer the Grail damsel and damsel. You no longer have 2 different entries, one here or one. Or you have 1 stat line for a mage. Combined stat 3 wounds, which is the big thing. So it is, I think, in the 1.2 is going to be a little harder to snipe mages.
Mm-hmm.
2 wounds was you can kind of count on with a lot of
Yep.
suicide charges. 3 is a little trickier. If you,
It definitely is.
so they'll survive a little better in that situation. Of course, and they can survive a few bad things happening to them too. The has special rules: lance formation, the blessing, insignificant, so they can join any unit. And then magic
at
resistance 1 is now back to
Standard.
being a standard rule instead of paying more points.
Okay, that's nice.
For the rule.
Something.
Yeah, and the mage doesn't cost too much. All the mages have beloved, which basically means they can join lances and don't have to be in the front rank. They don't take the front rank rule, so you can protect them. Same as before. The mage starts off as a wizard apprentice, which most mages do, and has 1 learned spell. The spell choices are druidism, shamanism, or divination, and they all give. I think a lot of people think divination's pro cavalry, and it does have a lot of good things. But shamanism is too, especially at the low level with the strength and the toughness help with the grind. And druidism's really helpful about growing guys back. And this tends to be, if you play the knight option, you tend to need all the help you can getting models back because they don't last very long. So with most mages, you can buy up to 3 additional learned spells, and they're 50 points per spell. You can make your wizard a wizard master, and
Which doesn't give you another spell.
which doesn't give you another spell. So having the wizard master ability and having the spells are 2 separate things. So you can have a 1 spell wizard master now,
Correct.
if you wish to do so, just to get the +1 casting and +1 dispelling. That is, I think that's a neat thing what they've done. So they really made you, be able to tailor your wizards to the design that you really want to do there. And it's not that many points actually to do that. Magic items, wizard apprentice, basically, up to 100, which is the old 50. Wizard master up to 200, which is the old 100. No change there. And then the mounts are a horse, which is now 50 points, a lot less. They still are the pricey, but for a mage. And then...
But that's kind of fair because of what it does to join the unit. Maybe.
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 Pegasus for the wizard master only. That's a... I don't remember. I think that's a change. VM is 90 points, and then a unicorn, which is a wizard master only, is 120. Unicorn's a little interesting. I thought they'd drop the points because unicorn gives you magic resistance 2, but since you get magic resistance 1 for free, one would think that unicorn wouldn't be as good of a choice.
Right.
So, but that's not what happen there. And then it tells you that the characters mounted on the Pegasus count towards the Airborne Gallery.
Yeah. Gallantry.
Gallantry, sorry.
And then we have the Castellan for basically 120 points.
Yeah, he's gone up a lot.
He's limited to 0 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the price of a Duke, isn't he?
He's more than a Duke. He's not a Duke, but he's more than a Paladin without equipment.
Sorry, Paladin. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lowborn, you can only join models with insignificant. He goes with joints, so he gets fast cav, and depending on who he's joining up with, he gets fast cav or
Right.
hatred and frenzy if he's on the foot guys, right?
Yes, the Peasant Crusaders, yes.
Yep. So he gives them weapon master at least.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
all right.
You can,
And if he pays, he's got the rousing orator now. It's no longer an option.
correct.
Comes standard, and he gets devastated. The unit gets devastating charge.
Right. So you get, it'll kick you up to quite often strength 4. I'm sorry,
plus 1 attack.
I'm sorry, not strength, plus 1 attack, yeah.
On the charge. Yeah.
It'll give you, some extra attacks.
Take magic items only up to 50, so that's a 25-point magic item allotment in
Correct.
the old style.
Right, so he's pretty limited on what he can take. He can't take the skull splitter.
Right. His equipment is fairly cheap. Throwing
Yes.
weapons 4, longbow 4. Yeah, these are really cheap weapons.
Yeah, and throwing weapons is the way to go if he's mounted.
Yeah, because
2
he's strength
4
4.
attacks, yeah.
Halberd is 4, nice.
Mhm.
Spear, light lance. Barded Warhorse is 30.
Yes,
It's the same horse that other guy paid 110 for, isn't it?
it's the exact same horse.
Okay.
Of course,
Just checking.
he only has 2 attacks, so he's
He
not
does.
exactly the most
No,
offensive.
I'm saying he's not. I mean, but anyway, it's the same horse.
Yeah.
Anyway, he can be upgraded to a rabble rouser.
Unfortunately, can't take that sword to give 6 attacks because I think it's 60 if I
It
remember
is.
correctly. Yeah.
He gains a +2 leadership and maybe made the battle standard bearer for 50.
Yeah. So if you do want to do an all peasant
You're going
army,
to do an all peasant army, all insignificant. And there's a quick look at the character mounts.
so we have the Border War horse.
House.
House. No change there. It's movement 9, 8 with the barding, so it's still fast on the charge, and strength 3, toughness 3, regular horse. Mounts protection 6, but with barding, so it's a 5 up. And thunder's charge, so it gets strength 4 on the charge.
Unicorn, no change to what it was before. Movement 10, War Beast. Mounts protection, Strider, Forest only.
Right.
Magic attacks, magic resistance 2, which you mentioned before, and Thunderous charge.
There was a point that it was on a 50 by 50. I'm glad they made a 25 by 50 because it fits in the units now. Brings us to the Pegasus, reminding you again that this mount counts additionally to the Airborne Gallery and the character points. Gallantry.
Going to keep pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying it wrong just to prove something.
Okay.
So you have the
What's wrong?
I'm looking at the movement on this. Oh, I see what they've done.
He's
No, I
movement.
don't.
He's movement.
Something doesn't make any sense.
No, it's wrong. This is wrong. I mean, he's movement 8, 7 fly, but they're saying because of the barding, he's down to 7-6, and he has to take the barding. Is the way I interpret that.
Yeah, which makes him.
This stat line needs to. Yeah, that's odd.
Well, to
Anyway.
see if they change it on the Pegasus Knights, because the Pegasus Knights basically could fly. He was already an inch slower, so
Yeah,
to be 2 inches slower would be insane.
this is ground move. This is his fly move.
That's the other way around, right?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Fly and
Flying ground, yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, because the normal move is not in parentheses, in brackets.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah, I don't understand this. I think something's weird. in
Yeah,
this.
something strange. It wasn't in the
Okay.
something got messed up there.
Unless this was supposed to be a 9-8. And
That's-
they're showing. That's what I'm reading because it's telling you the star here. So I think this is what he ends up. But I think this should say 9-8
Yeah, I think so.
based on what I'm seeing.
But yeah, then they had the fly 8 below, so yes, I think this is just a little messed up. So they
Anyway.
hopefully we'll have to see what they did, because before he was slower than he was the same speed as an unbarded regular Pegasus Knight.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of get around it by taking a +1 armor, so he didn't slow down.
Okay.
But when they took away those options, then when they gave him barding, it slowed him down. So hopefully they're going to fix that. That's what I'm praying that happens, and he's not going to be so slow that he's useless. Yeah, 7/6 isn't, you're not going to see too many of them.
And there's the big hippogriff.
Yes.
Again, counts towards the Airborne Gallantry. Rider goes to characters. He has Towering Presence, which replaces the old large target. See, this is move 7, fly 8, correct?
Yeah.
So, anyway, the one in that's
No, that's the barding number. That's the barded warhouse. I think he's move 8. Oh, that's what it is. He's move 8. He's 7 with the barding.
Okay.
Why they need to do that? Well, he doesn't have barding. Hold on.
He's fly 8, so this means 8.
Yes,
that's his
that
fly
means
speed.
That's his fly speed, and that's his ground speed.
Right. So back down here, this guy's fly 8, which doesn't show up anywhere.
So they're backwards. Yeah, they've messed
Oh,
up.
no. This is his ground. His ground is 7.
Right.
Reduced to 6. His fly is 8, reduced to 7.
That's what
there
it
we
is.
go. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, so he
So
is.
the Pegasus is fly 7.
Yeah, so he's slower than the other guys.
So anyway, back to this guy. Armor piercing 1 for the mount and devastating charge.
So those used to be options. They just basically rolled it into the.
See down there, he has to take them.
Yeah, into the points. Yeah,
But,
and now this, I didn't notice this before. And he's a towering presence.
Large target.
So he's a large target.
Well, large, whatever they.
He's a monster now. He had large target before, but he wasn't a monster.
He's not a monster.
He's still a monstrous beast. So they haven't changed that. So okay, everything's the same.
Okay.
He's just easier to hit, but doesn't get a thunderstomp.
And we move to core.
So that brings us to the first core, and just minor cores up to 30% or more. You see a little flag on the side that just basically means that the unit is a scoring unit. When we scroll down, we'll see it written again. Basically, just as a reminder, in version 1.2, you no longer have to have a standard to be scoring. You just have to be classified as a scoring unit. Standards give you +1, additional +1s to combat. They no longer do the determining scoring, which is a fantastic change from my perspective. Base units, a little more expensive. There are 5 models for 240, so old points, that's 120. An additional 10, you can get up to 10 additional, and they are 44 points per model or 22. Now the reason they've gone up so much is you'll see that mounts protection, barding, they now come with heavy armor standard, and the shields you no longer have the option, and that's one of the big changes in the army lists. They didn't add new units, they didn't do a lot of stat changes, but they tried to get rid of questionable upgrades and incorporate them into the unit. So it's harder to tell when a model had heavy armor or light armor. I guess they kind of could have gotten around that by saying that he had no barding, and then the upgrade was barding, and that would have done kind of the same thing. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe they'll do that. That'd be kind of a neat change to give like a medium cav option in the future. He's got the lance. He's got lance formation, blessing, thunderous charge, and scoring, and impetuous. So it's note here the warhouse has thunderous charge, and the rider has thunderous charge. So he gets the additional strength on the charge. He's only strength 3, so he becomes strength 6 on the charge. Then he's impetuous, and impetuous basically means when he declares a charge, he gains frenzy. The knight, not the horse, until the end of the player turn, and then he can reroll failed charge ranges if it's but only models with this rule. So
only if every model is.
Yeah. So if you put a character in here, you lose the reroll capability. But it is nice to have that surety since charging is so important. And the frenzy gives you basically an extra attack, so you'll tend to see these in wider formations, I think.
Correct.
And not so much deeper ones, unless you play a really big unit. But you have to watch that you don't get led around in the wrong direction. But at least it's on when you declare the charge, you don't have the other negatives. You only have the breakthrough limitation.
Correct. You can still flee a charge. Right.
Yeah, so it's nice.
Okay.
Then the upgrades aren't any. Basically, he can have champion, musician, and standard bearer. They're 20 old points, and they didn't change anything there.
Okay.
Someday we both hope that they
They
drop.
adjust those
Yeah,
based
just-
on things.
Yeah, you adjust them or just drop them because everyone
put 'em
kind of
into-
has them
roll 'em
anyway.
into.
Yeah, because standards look good. Forget about the bonuses; they look neat on models.
So they're 240 for
For the
5
first-
of those.
First 5, and then 44 for the additionals
And these guys are cheaper
for the first 5.
for the first 5
But
and more
10 points
expensive
more
additional.
for the additional ones.
Okay.
And I think that's because the other ones, they're getting a frenzy, so you're
Right,
going
they're
to play
not.
them wide. And these, it's all, the first few doesn't matter because you're going to be playing them in Lance most of the time.
All right, moving down through this. So it looks like they either got more expensive here.
Yeah. Went up a point.
Okay. Down here, the only special rule they picked up was scoring,
Yes.
which they kind of had before, as long as they bought a banner.
But now they don't have to if you don't want to.
Other than that, they are your grunt
Yep.
troops.
Horses still have Thunderous Charge.
Yeah.
They didn't change anything on the weapon options. You can take Morning Star for 6 points per model, but you would never do that because you have to lose your shield. You're going to be a 3-up armor save.
Right.
You can take a flail for 10 points. You're never going to do that because you got to replace your shield. So
Yeah.
these are kind of sequitur.
Non-options.
Yeah, they're really non-options.
Options that are there but won't be used.
Yeah.
So what do we got here? Peasant Levy.
Yes, Peasant Levy, basically the same points, 120 for the first 20 models. And you can add up to 40, so you can have a lot of these guys on 8 points, which is the old 4 points. They're also a scoring unit. They have light armor and shield. Their weapons still weapon skill 2. So, frankly, the hand weapon and shield is probably really good to give them the parry rule.
Yeah, because you need 4s to hit them.
Because you'll need 4s to hit them. Because they're not going to do much. They're strength 3 with low weapon skill. You can give them a shield, which is for free, if you want to, get the armor piercing, fight an extra rank. Now, still not a
Spear,
bad.
you mean?
A spear? What I say? A shield?
Shield.
Yeah, a spear. It's not a bad option. But these guys, I think, are more about staying around. Halberd, 2 points. I don't know if I take that, but
Well, that's the old 1 point, but yeah.
yeah, it's just
That's a 2-hand. It requires 2 hands. So.
yeah. So and so much of these guys are hanging around, and you're not going to hit a lot of weapon skill too. And I still don't understand why halberds cost more than spears with all the bonuses you get for spears, but that's all.
And I don't understand why this champion costs as much as that guy on the horse.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So they have, the champion and musician the same.
Yep. Peasant Bowman. Nothing looks like absolutely nothing's changed here except for, the pricing all remains the same. 140 for the first 10, and you can buy up to 20 more at 12 a model. They are scoring units. You are limited to 4 per army.
Yes.
Here's one of the changes: is now instead of being a purchase, you automatically get the light armor upgrade.
Ooh.
That's great. See, now you got a 6-up armor. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You still got a longbow. You're scoring. Still have your stakes,
Yes.
which is there before. Let you just, if you don't move, you can have this
You get soft cover, basically.
soft cover, hard cover. Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, soft cover.
Soft cover unless you're already there.
Yes.
The braziers, which used to be an upgrade, are also part of your
Yes.
unit now. And before shooting, you can choose to use them or not. So
Yes.
it's
And you get flaming
attacks. You can replace your stakes and scoring units with skirmish for up to 20. And you're paying for both these, by the way.
Yes.
But you still do become a skirmish unit, which could be helpful.
Yeah, I think it should be a free upgrade, but
You can replace your longbow and braziers with a crossbow at 4 points a model, which is the old 2.
yes.
Crossbows give you the +1 strength and armor piercing, which is kind of nice.
So this is a change.
No, they don't have armor piercing. There's a strength 4.
There's strength
sorry.
4. This is a change because before you had to take a Crusader army, which no longer exists,
Get the crossbows.
to get the crossbow. So now you can take the crossbows, and I see a lot of people taking crossbows if you're going to take shooting.
Yeah.
But strength
So
4
strength
shooting
4
is just
shooting
better
is so
than
much better
3.
than strength 3.
Even with shooting over things.
Yeah, and the range is the same,
Yeah.
30 inches both ways.
Right.
So, again, command.
Right.
Command's the same here. Congratulations.
Yes, and then they lost. It used to be if you took a Castellan, which was a nice chaff model, I think it's a increased cost. You have to think about it now. It's a nice cost, but you could take Brigands.
Mm.
And that unit's now been eliminated, which is kind of sad. I kind of like the high or ballistic skill guys.
Yeah, it's also kind of
It was very flavorful Robin Hood kind of thing going on.
It was, and it's like I said, the army losing a unit that
Has so few.
has so few kind of hurts.
I would have rather lost the regular skirmishers,
Right.
archers, and said
If you could upgrade one to
Yeah.
brigands rather than this.
Right, exactly, and then you didn't have those guys.
Yeah.
And then
This isn't limited. You can do this.
yeah, you can, but so I mean, how much
Is
really?
this max 20 models per unit or max
Yeah.
20 models per army?
That's a good question. I believe it's per unit,
I
but
believe so, but it's kind of ambiguous.
but it is ambiguous.
Anyway. All right. Moving on.
Brings us to the Knights of the Quest. We're now in this special category, which no longer has a limit, which is basically the old special and rare. They are scoring units. You are limited to 0 to 4. Before they were special, you could only have 3. So they've slightly raised the cost of the additional models. Same stat line though, so they are strength 4. They have initiative 4, but it doesn't matter because they have great weapons.
That's actually funny.
Yeah, so you're paying for that and not getting the
Paying for
bonus.
initiative and getting nothing out of it.
Yeah.
If something made you take an initiative test, which it doesn't anymore, that can be pretty good.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just there. Great weapon comes with them. You have a lance formation, questing oath. You do not have the oath of fealty, which was the same as the last version, so you don't help
Peasants.
the peasants. You got the thunderous charge for your horse. The one upgrade are hedge knights, max 9 models. Again, I'm sure that's for the unit, not for the
army.
Army,
Yeah.
which is an additional 8 points per model. It gives you the scout and vanguard, which can be pretty neat. The forest rider was taken off there, and this upgrade was reduced because it is now part of the basic unit. So
Correct.
all Knights of the Quest have forest rider. And just a reminder that questing vow gives you basically immune to fear when you're fighting fear causers, and you get to use your shield and your great weapon at the same time, so you still maintain your 2-up armor safe.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't like this unit because of striking last, and you can lose a lot of them, but I still think it's especially with some of the magic synergies.
You're still a 2-up armor, right?
Yeah, which is usually a 3-up or a 4-up, but
Well, if it's a 4-up, that means you're probably getting a 5-up ward. So.
No, it's 4-up. Strength 4 armor piercing, just depends
Depends
what's fighting
on
you.
what's how you fight.
Or if you've got the other token, depending on your meta, what you're going to run into, it just makes it difficult.
So moving on to the Knights Forlorn.
Also known as the foot questing knights.
Yes. They are scoring unit for 190 points for 10. 19 points a guy, if you can do math like I can occasionally. And you can add up to 30 more at 26 a model. Wow, they're really pricey.
After the
for
first 10.
After the first 10, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's
For what you get, yeah.
So they have great weapons, heavy armor, and shield. They have the questing oath. So even though they're using great weapons, they still get to use their heavy armor and they
Correct.
still get to use
So
their
basically
shield.
it counts having plate armor.
So they're kind of like
They're
good
4-up.
point. So they're 4-up armor.
Yeah.
They have Strider in the forest, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Um,
They're scoring.
yes, you can gain skirmishing
And lose scoring.
and lose the scoring for free.
Which there's a lot of
That's actually fairly nice.
there's a lot of that in the
But
game.
now with the skirmishing keeping you're no longer condensing down, smaller guys hitting you become problematic.
There's no point, I don't think, because you already have Forest Strider.
right.
I don't
Well,
see
you might just want to be shot at.
Okay.
I think that's a decent thing.
I don't think it's worth losing the combat effectiveness of
Probably
the
not.
formation and your ranks and everything. So
Good point.
yeah, it's probably why it's free.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can take a magical standard up to 100.
For the full
100.
points, yeah.
They can become hedge knights for 3 points a model, which does what gives them scout and vanguard. Okay.
Correct. So
Same as the questing
same,
knights.
but basically same as the questing knights, except they're on foot.
Okay.
They're maximized. They did it differently here. It's a little confusing, but for the skirmishing, you can only have a maximum of 15 per unit, and then for the hedge knights, you can only have a maximum of 20 per unit.
It's kind of odd they did the
Yeah.
they did the formatting different on two different
well,
units.
it's written
on
at
the
two
same
different times. Is probably why.
list. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have these guys.
Yes. The Knights of the Grail, 220 points.
All these units, just sorry to interrupt. All these units are right around, except the knights are all at 220, 240.
Yes.
Yeah, the knights are all right around that same price cost.
Yes.
Okay.
For the starting cost.
For the starting cost, of course.
When you start adding guys.
Of course, these you only get 3 for that.
Yes, exactly. And there's a reason for that. So 220 for 3 models. You can add up to 5. So the same as last version. You can only have 8, which is weird since Lance is 9.
Right.
But they're 84 points for the additional guys, so they're quite pricey.
Yeah.
That'd be 42 points, old points, for a single wound model. You can have 2 units per army. However, if you take any war machines, you can only have 1 unit. So that's kind of a neat little rule.
Okay.
Standard knights, except they are strength 4, toughness 4, weapon skill 5. They have 2 attacks each.
This is big.
Yeah, and initiative 5. They can put out a good amount of attacks, especially when you think of the lance formation, because they can use their full attacks even in the back ranks.
Yeah, for this monstrous
Right,
support.
heavy armor and shield. They get divine attacks now as a standard rule instead of as an upgrade, which is why they went up in points.
Yep, down there.
Pure of Heart is just means they can only be joined by damsels and by that single character that you're allowed to get the Grail Oath.
Okay, so I guess they're assuming you put a character or damsel with each one of these with a block.
It's kind of, I
bring them
guess,
to
what they
9.
do. I thought maybe in this version, I suspect in the next version they're going to tweak some of this because they did this limitation and before because of the Grail Knight Death Star and there's so many, they've limited it in so many ways now you just don't see it. They don't have any real upgrades. They can take a magic standard up to 100. They can, they're champions, so it's a human army that does this, like elves have this ability, which is, can take a magic weapon up to 50 points.
Okay.
Which can be useful.
And they can take a magic standard up to 100.
Yes.
Which is not a challenge.
I missed the shame that the screaming swords are no longer available because I like that on the champion just to cause fear on the unit when they're charging, yeah.
And here he is, the Green Knight.
Yes.
360 points of awesomeness. You only have one of these guys. He's on a Spectral Stallion. Move 9. Barded brings him down to 8 because he does have barding.
Yep.
Mounts protect 6. So he's got a 2-up armor. Otherworldly when he's got a fixed 5-up save. Right? Oh no, that's the crumble. Right? That's unstable. Anyway,
unstable is the crumble. Ethereal is the 3-up, 5-up.
Yeah, he's got a 5-up save
Otherworldly
all the
is
time. 3-up if it's not magic.
Is the 5-up and immune to psychology, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And weapon master means he can switch out
from a great weapon to paired weapons,
or to a single hand weapon and shield if he wants to.
Because everyone has a hand weapon. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can go at an initiative, keep your armor, and go at a higher initiative, I guess.
You can go to a higher. He can have instead of 4 attacks, you could have 5 with the paired weapon.
Right.
With initiative 7, he could have, 4 with the and keep his armor at 2 up.
Okay.
Or he can just have 4 attacks with a great weapon.
360 points. It's kind of a way to get a character.
He's a sort of character, except for that unstable.
Yeah, that's true.
And
he can't join units, can he?
No, and he only has 3 wounds.
He's not defined as a character.
Right. I mean, I've always loved the Green Knight. I loved him. I loved the Green Knight in when GW had a Green Knight, and they've always costed him a little too much.
Yeah.
And his problem here is, especially with the new ethereal rules, where he only saves on a 3-up against non-magic items. So that's a 1/3 of the time he's going to be failing. You're hoping your combination of armor and stuff will save you. But then if you do a whiff roll, you may crumble and just disappear.
Correct.
So I think he's much harder to use. He doesn't come back like the old days. So he's just not good for so many points.
I agree.
An
ambush, if you use the ambush rule, that means he's not even showing up till turn 2.
Or 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, at the earliest.
Yeah, so,
anyway.
I mean, I would take him just because I always liked them in concept, like the Arthurian legend. He's just not worth the points. Not even close. Yeah, Yeoman Outriders. 110 points. Nothing much has really changed here for 5 models. These are basically the light cap for the army.
Not a single green piece of text in there, huh?
Yeah, you can add 10 models or 16 points, so that's 8 equivalent. Mounts protection 6, so and they come
8 points a model. Wow.
Yeah, they come with the bow and light lance, so they charge on a strength 4. They're insignificant. Serves leadership's only a 6, so they're a little risky in some ways. They're fast cavalry, so they can move or whatever. They can take a shield for 2 points, which is probably something, in armor for 4. He'd probably take both of those just because, unless you want to use them super chaff and don't care. You can replace the bow with throwing weapons, which for me is an automatic yes. I don't think mounted bows are worth anything in the game any longer. Just you're doubling the number of shots,
and you're fast cav with move 8.
Yeah, so. and you shoot far enough. So
yep.
And the one thing with that movement 6 is leadership 6, because musicians no longer give the modifiers for rally, correct?
We'll have to look at that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
If I remember correctly, they don't. And if that's the case, yeah. So when you do run away, you better hope he's in the bubble or close to, because he does have insignificant, another one of your knights.
Yeah, you better hope so, because he's not coming back.
Yeah, it's just not a good roll for him otherwise.
Okay. Wow. All right.
That's something to think about with a lot of fast cavalry now.
Moving on, we have the Peasant Crusaders for 120 for 10, and then 30 models for 12 each.
Can have 40.
So pretty much 12 points across the board, no matter how you buy them.
Old 6.
Yeah, 6 points. It's cheap for a guy with light armor and shield, but he's only he's weapon skill 3.
Yes, he is.
It's better than a goblin.
Yep.
Leadership, strength, toughness 3. Okay. Standard human stats all across the board, except for ballistic skill,
which doesn't matter.
Which doesn't matter because he can't have anything to throw.
Correct.
Insignificant serfs, hatred built in. That's nice. Yes. Stubborn, frenzy, and scoring.
And hatred's even better with low.
Frenzy.
Yes.
Okay. I like these guys. Could be interesting.
Keep reading.
Scoring. May exchange a shield for paired weapons.
So now you can get 3 attacks in your front rank guys if you want.
Yeah, 3 shriek 3.
Mm-hmm. If you want to give
I'll stick with the don't hurt me as bad shield.
Yes, me too.
And then of course the standard 20 points apiece.
Right.
Yep.
For what you pay for these guys, I think they're wonderful.
Right.
I'm not big on most of the peasants. Some people love peasants, but I think these guys are wonderful. Especially keeping range, you get that +1, moving. That's just good.
Mm-hmm. And there we go with this thing.
Unfortunately, they can't take a magic standard or to give them that standard that they get to do 3 times their movement.
Yeah.
Get them into somebody's grill.
The
Sacred Reliquary. 260 points, so old 130. You can have up to 2 of them. This is kind of a surprise. I thought this would be a unique item.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of think of the True
Fluff
Cross and all these things. Fluff-wise be one, but you could have 2 of them if you really want to. I'm not sure anyone would, but you could.
I guess if you're doing a whole peasant army.
Yeah, it counts as infantry. It's on a 40 by 60, so it can go inside of a unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's got weapon skill 3, strength 3, toughness 5, 6 wounds, so it is a little tough to kill. 4 attacks. Who cares about the 4 attacks? But leadership 8, which is nice. So you put that with some of your other peasants, which are 5s and 6s. You're getting a bonus.
4 up armor, I guess.
Yeah, 4 up armor because of light armor and innate defense 5. Probably could have just given it innate defense 4 and not worried about the light armor. But whatever. Special rule has insignificance, so it can join. It is stubborn, which is good because you can basically give stubborn to any unit that you join.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It has impact hits, D3, which is D3 strength 3 impact hits, big deal. It's a war platform, so.
Yeah, that's actually funny.
Yes, it has. It's got holy fervor.
Okay.
Holy fervor, not the holy fever.
It's not holy fever.
Yes, let's say holy fever. All friendly models with insignificant, so it's only the different serf units. Within 6 units, gain the blessing. So you get depending on which token you've chosen for that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You get that for the army, for these units. All friendly and significant infantry and insignificant cavalry models within 6 inches gain fight and extra rank. So those guys we just talked about, that are frenzied,
Yeah, those
now,
peasant infantry.
yeah, can get an extra rank fighting, and you get to reroll ones.
Okay.
So you can make it a pretty fighty
So
block.
rolls of 1.
And with 6 inches, you could cover 3 units with this thing.
Possibly, yeah. Yep. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Still kind of what it was before, right?
Yeah, they didn't change at all.
Siege War Machine.
Still, a little pricey.
0 to 2 per army. So that's a really hard cap.
Yes.
It has 6 wounds. Toughness is only 4, which pretty much all war machines are down to.
Right, but it's
low numbers
6
like
as
this.
opposed
6 wounds as
most
opposed
war
to
machines
5.
have 5.
Correct. You have 2 choices. You can go with the Scorpion, which is the bolt thrower,
Yes.
which is a strength 3/6.
So the
This-
one model's on a 6, and the
Right.
rest of them are on 3s.
And that 6 has the D3 plus 1 clipped wings, which I think is replacing the ordnance, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
Yeah, looks like it.
Um,
So it does more wounds than your average bolt thrower. It's the same though as it was
Right.
before.
or you can take a Trebuchet.
Yes.
Trebuchet for 300 points. Catapult 4, so it hits up to 16 guys. 4 wide, 4 deep.
Yes.
Standard range, strength 4/8, or, parentheses 8. 8 in the hole, that's nice. Multi wounds, D3 plus 1 if it's flying.
Right.
So that's down a point. The multiple wounds, D3 plus 1.
Yeah. Now the difference is it's more expensive
AP1.
because it was, I think, 140 if I remember correctly. So now it's equal to 150. So
And this AP1 applies to everything, not
Yes.
just this.
correct.
Okay?
Right. But it's got armor piercing cross, and it used to be strength 10, strength 4. So they've taken
okay.
down the big hit. I think they did that with almost all the catapults, but also it kept its strength 4, but a lot of the other catapults that I've seen are now strength 3, so it didn't get that a nerf like I've seen a number of other catapults.
Really?
Do. Yeah.
Some catapults went down?
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't seen enough armies to know.
Right.
And here we go.
That brings us to the last category in its only entry, the Airborne Gallantry, the maximum 40%. And just a reminder that this includes the Pegasus Knights as well as any characters that are on a Pegasus, as well as the Hippogriff model itself. Okay, you can have up to 3 units of them. They're 360 points, so they've gone up in points. 3 models to start with, and you can add up to 3, so you can have 6 of them, and they're 110 points per model, or 55 points, so a little more. They have the basic stats of the a regular Knight of the Realm, weapon skill 4, strength 4, 3, and 1 wound, etc. The young Pegasus, they did the same thing here with the movement.
Yeah, I don't like this, but
Yeah, it's
what it
confusing.
is. The fly is the 9, drops to 8.
Yes. So as you see here, they're actually faster than the character ones for
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
and you
Well,
can't.
they're younger Pegasus.
Yeah,
They're
with this
more
exact-
motivated.
Yeah, exact same. The other one's a young Pegasus also, as opposed to a Royal Pegasus, right?
Mhm.
So weapon skills still 3 and strength 4, toughness 4, 2 attack. So the Pegasus themselves don't put out a lot of attacks. Neither does a rider, but they're still nice. 40 by 40 base still. Now, part of the reason they're more expensive is barding is no longer an option, and devastating charge is no longer an option. They've been rolled into the price, so you'll always get barding. You still have heavy armor and shield, and you have
Okay.
lance, the blessing, oath of fealty. The young Pegasus is fly 9, but ends up being 8 because of the barding. And then I'll just note that it reduces both
Yeah.
moving, so as we know. And you can still get an upgrade, which is the Vanguard move, and you can still get the skirmish, but that's also still an upgrade with a maximum of 4 models. And then you get the normal command, and you can have a standard magic banner, 100 points, old 50 points.
Okay. Still a good unit. Still nice. I've always liked the Pegasus Knights.
No, they're very nice in this. Frankly, I think probably the best armies have a lot of Pegasus Knights. because the fly is pretty powerful. So
Right.
you play avoidance and do that.
And if I read the message boards right or whatever, I saw that these two were removed. This was removed for a couple of reasons.
Yes.
Because there's no way to differentiate
Correct.
which had it and which didn't.
Right.
In addition to the fact that almost everyone was taking it.
Yes.
Same thing with the barding.
Yeah, the barding one I thought was kind of strange because you can model that.
Yeah, but I think what they're saying is I don't think people would.
I don't think people
that.
were modeling it. They either had
Right.
old GW ones that had barding on them,
Right.
or they were using other models that didn't. So I can see that, but you could model that.
You could, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be done.
Yeah, and then Vanguard, that one that's fine because it's only at the beginning of the game.
Correct. And skirmish,
And
you can tell by
skirmish
how they
is
deploy.
pretty obvious how they set up. So yeah, that part makes sense.
Yeah, and that goes with that whole thing where they're trying to reduce some confusion
Correct,
on the
correct.
battlefield.
Some people were annoyed because they like the cheaper ones for chaff, but I don't have any problem with those
Right.
changes.
So that's kind of it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. So overall, it looks like the prices went up on almost everything
Yeah,
across the board.
the big one is, I mean, a point here, a point there on a lot of troops isn't I don't think is gonna be a big deal.
Right.
I think the reduction of total points for characters with the increase in mounts and slight increase in virtues, particularly for paladins, is going to change how a lot of people play the army because you just can't take the numbers of characters that you used to be able to. And even the Air Force is going to be affected a bit because with the points that you have, you can take maybe 2 small units of Pegasus with command and maybe 1 character. You can't really do a whole flying span. You can't take maximum size ones. You don't have enough points.
Right.
And you can't take multiple characters and multiple Pegasus. So even the RAF has been cut back a bit. I can understand why it's a little shame to me because they're trying to push people to using the knights, but you still have the same problem with knights in the 9th Age, or you end up using lots of Pegasus, which I think a lot of people were like me. I didn't get this army to play with infantry. I have a Empire Sunstall army for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a knight army.
Yeah, and I've got orcs and goblins. I got other things I can play infantry with. The whole point was the beauty and the pageantry of the knight army. So
yeah, it's a knight army.
Yeah.
That's what it's anyway. To me, that's what it's always supposed to be.
So I'm very interested to see when they get the version 1.3. Maybe not. They probably won't be even 1.3. I suspect we won't see much. It probably won't be until 2.
Well, I don't think you'll see it until this one gets a true army book.
Yes, exactly. I don't think you see anything
Whenever
much.
that happens.
That the knights themselves will start to shine a little bit more.
Which their army book seems to keep getting pushed
Yeah,
back and
it's
back
always
and back.
that always seems.
Oh
to
yeah,
be,
that's very important. We're going to be getting to that one soon.
Yeah, there's
maybe
always
not.
something that seems to be more important. But
Yeah.
so now, I mean, there are a few things that help. As I said, I think they across the board that the armies may have less leadership, which will help breaking things on the
Right.
charge. I think that's a general benefit. It looks like they've tried to tone down a lot of troops in a lot of different armies, so you can't look at this as just, oh, my army got weaker.
Right.
Everybody's army got weaker.
Correct.
And we're not, until we really understand those dynamics and that meta, it's going to be difficult to tell what's is it better or is it worse. I suspect it's probably somewhat held its ground. It's just the character piece is the only part I'm worried about.
Yeah, going from 50 to 35 is going to hurt.
Yeah. With the
Even
increases
though
in cost, which is probably more like 30.
I guess typically the hippogriff coming out of those points might help a little bit resolve that, but not a lot.
For those people that play with hippogriffs.
Right, if you play with hippogriffs. Correct.
But a lot of people didn't play with. They played with Pegasus, or they played just with guys to bolster up the units.
Yep.
So yeah.
But yeah, the army I love. I need to give the orcs a break and bring these guys back out of hibernation for a while. Now that they're nerfed a little bit.
So yeah, you have to bring them up because they seem to keep getting nerfed a little bit.
I noticed.
Well, I suppose they do really well in ETC tournaments, which makes sense because you can manage your.
You can somewhat pick your opponent.
Pick your opponent, and supposedly they do okay in regular tournaments. Although I haven't seen that in the U.S. But
Right.
So,
anyway, yeah, I like these. I've always loved the Equitaine army.
yes.
So, I guess that's it. Anything else to add?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Until the next time.
Stop stealing.